Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. Continuing on with college football week 8. It's week 8 already. Got a big one. Possibly the biggest game of the week here. SEC, Alabama, Tennessee in Knoxville. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, we got Alabama on the road in Knoxville for this one. It looks like the Vols are catching a full 3 now. I see a couple 2.5s out there, but for the most part, everyone's moved this one up to 3. Total sitting at 56.5 pretty much across the board. Let's take a look at the pie charts, and according to this data, action's coming in heavily on the Alabama side. Over 80% of the tickets, over 90% of the money on the Tide. But as I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. Let's take a look at some head-to-head history, and as I'm sure you know, Alabama has controlled this rivalry. This graphic goes back the last 11. Alabama's 10-1 in those games, but their last trip to Neyland, they did lose 52-49. That was to the Hendon Hooker team. Bryce Young was playing quarterback in that game. 52-49. That was an awesome game. So Tennessee beat these guys their last trip to this stadium, but we're not interested in the past. We're talking about this matchup right here. Let's start with the Alabama offense. 35th in rushing frequency so far. They've been running the football, running a slow pace too. 115th in pace, controlling the line of scrimmage, controlling the clock. That's what we've seen from DeBoer so far. Offensive numbers look pretty excellent across the board, as you would expect them to. 7th in yards per play, 24th in success rate, 9th in PPA. Rushing numbers, 68th in success rate per rush. Whatever. I mean, 33rd in yards per carry, 19th in effective rush. Look at the passing numbers. Jalen Milroe taking giant steps forward this year in terms of being an efficient passer. 3rd in yards per pass attempt, 4th in success rate per dropback, 14th in effective pass. He's coming up on 1,500 passing yards on the season. Over 11 yards per attempt. Over 11. He's got 12 passing touchdowns so far this year. He's got 4 interceptions, but his turnover-worthy play rate is an A+. So, I mean, he has thrown 4 interceptions, but according to Pro Football Focus, he hasn't been putting the ball in harm's way much. So Jalen Milroe's been great as a passer so far this year. So how does he match up against this Tennessee pass defense? And we were talking about this last week. Tennessee might be a little bit fraudulent in terms of defending the pass. If you look at their first 4 games, absolutely elite numbers against the pass. 5 yards per attempt, 37.5% success rate per dropback, 125 passing yards allowed per game. Elite numbers against the pass. Against who? Chattanooga. NC State has no passing attack this year, although Grayson McCall did play in that game. That was before he got hurt, but still, I mean, he wasn't good at all. Kent State, Oklahoma, their offense is terrible. So in these first 4 games, they have elite numbers against the pass. Didn't play anybody. Look at the last 2 games against Arkansas and Florida. The numbers look significantly worse. Success rate up over 45%, over 8.4 yards per pass attempt allowed. And honestly, they should be worse than this. They played Arkansas and got completely cooked through the air. Arkansas had almost 300 passing yards in the game, 9.9 yards per attempt, 53.1% success rate per dropback. Arkansas cooked on the Vols secondary. And then last week against Florida, Graham Mertz got hurt in the game. Before leaving the game with an injury, he was 11 of 15, 125 yards, a touchdown, no picks, a 165 passer rating. So he was carving up Tennessee's defense as well. Florida was up 10-0 when he got hurt. If Graham Mertz doesn't get hurt, Tennessee might not even win that game. So I have serious questions when it comes to the Tennessee pass defense. Now, on the season, they still have elite-looking defensive numbers here. 2nd in yards per play, 6th in success rate, 4th in PPA. Look down at the bottom of this graphic, though. The pass defense numbers starting to drop. If we looked at this graphic 2 weeks ago, Tennessee was basically top 6 or 7 in every single metric on here. Starting to drop back in the pass defense. Now, they're still rated 10th in effective pass. 2 games is not enough to skew that, but still, I have my doubts when it comes to Tennessee defending the pass. The big question in this one is, will Tennessee be able to generate pressure on Milroe? They do have a pass rush. They're 13th in pressure rate, 20th in pass rush grade, and dating back to last year, that has been the weakest point of Alabama's offense is the pass protection. This year, 52nd in pressure rate, allowed 24th in pass blocking grade, so it's not quite as bad as last year. They seem to be shoring things up in that department, but that's the question. Is Tennessee able to generate pressure here? Now, the good news for Alabama is Milroe has gotten much better at handling pressure. Last year, these numbers did not look like this. QB rating A+ when pressured. Yards per attempt A+ when pressured. So in an offense whose weakness is pass protection, you like to see it. I like that a lot for Milroe. Personally, I don't believe in this Tennessee pass defense, and I think Milroe should be able to throw the ball on them. Now, if you are looking to bet Tennessee, I do agree with you that I'm not sure if the run game's going to be there for Alabama. Tennessee's pass defense, we can poke holes in. Run defense looks pretty good. Yeah, we can pull up the first 4 games. They racked up elite defensive numbers, same as against the pass. But in their last 2 games, when we saw the pass defense struggling, run defense still looks good. Just 3.24 yards per carry, 37.3% success rate per rush. So the run defense hasn't faltered. It's the pass defense that's fallen off a cliff. So I still have faith when it comes to Tennessee's defensive front against the run. But when it comes to defending the pass, that secondary, I don't believe in it much anymore after what we've seen the last 2 games. And also, I like Milroe a lot. I think Milroe's improved greatly from last year, so he should be able to throw the ball on Tennessee's defense. Now, what about the other side? Let's talk about the Tennessee offense. 11th in run frequency. This is an offense that wants to run the football. Numbers are looking pretty good on the season. 39th in yards per play, 33rd in success rate, 31st in PPA. Rushing numbers 25th, 65th, 20th in effective rush. Passing numbers efficiency-wise look pretty good. They're back at 86th in effective pass, and the reason for that is they just don't throw the ball much. So obviously, Sharp College football is not going to put them in the top 25 for passing attack when they just don't throw the ball much. Nico's numbers on the season look pretty good. Over 1,200 yards, 8.5 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But kind of like the Tennessee pass defense, really racked up a lot of nice-looking numbers in those first 4 games. 303 passing yards per game, almost a 60% success rate per dropback, 10 yards per pass attempt. These numbers looked excellent. Then in their last 2 games against Arkansas and Florida, not exactly defensive juggernauts there. Under 6 yards per pass attempt, 40.3% success rate per dropback, 163.5 passing yards per game. So Nico racked up a ton of stats in those first 4 games. Now Oklahoma's in there in those first 4 games, so it wasn't all scrubs in terms of defenses that he's seen. But in the last 2 weeks, I mean, we're really seeing him come down to earth. He's starting to look a bit like a freshman throwing the ball. I have good news if you're a Tennessee fan. What is going on with this Alabama pass defense? In the first 3 games, just like Tennessee, they were looking elite. They were allowing 3.33 yards per pass attempt, 24.3% success rate per dropback, looking like they might be the best pass defense in college football. That was against Western Kentucky, South Florida, and Wisconsin, too. 3 decent offenses, so it's not like they were playing scrubs. It was looking like Alabama might be the best pass defense in college football. Then what the hell happened? Against Georgia, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina, they allowed 311 passing yards per game, almost a 50% success rate per dropback, 9.47 yards per attempt. What happened? This Alabama pass defense looks so good, it has fallen off a cliff. Now, if you pull up their defensive numbers on the season, they still look good. I mean, they were so elite in those first 3 games that we really aren't seeing the effects of it yet. They're pretty much top 25 across the board. Against the run, against the pass, they're still sitting at 6th in DFEI. And just like Tennessee, the key here is going to be, can Alabama generate some pressure? They're 49th in pressure rate, 24th in pass rush grade. And just like Alabama, Tennessee's offensive line, not the greatest in pass protection. 55th in pass blocking grade, 99th in sack rate allowed, 54th in pressure rate allowed. So Alabama should be able to generate some pressure. But we talked about how Jalen Milroe greatly improved this year when pressured. Nico has not handled pressure well. In fact, it's been pretty awful. He's got an A quarterback rating when given a clean pocket, an F when pressured. Yards per attempt goes from a B+ to an F. So Nico has not handled pressure very well at all. So with both of these offenses having questionable pass protections, definitely prefer Milroe, who's been excellent under pressure. Also, he's obviously got more experience. So I definitely like that for Alabama. Now, what about the run game? Is that going to be there for Tennessee? Well, just like every other aspect of their team, what has happened in the last few games? In the first 3 games, they're averaging almost 7 yards per carry as a team, 51.5% success rate per rush. Look at their last 3 games. Under 3.6 yards per carry as a team, 36.4% success rate per rush. That's against Oklahoma, okay. Arkansas and Florida, I mean, those are decent front sevens. They're not great. So this Tennessee run game that they were leaning on the beginning of the season, they're 10th in rushing frequency or whatever the number was. They want to run the ball. Hasn't really been there in terms of efficiency. And when it comes to Alabama's defense, yeah, we can point at the pass defense and be like, what's going on here, Alabama? But the run defense has been good as hell. They struggled a little bit against South Florida early in the season, but look at the 4 games since then. Allowing just 3.29 yards per carry, 41% success rate per rush, 131.8 rushing yards per game. That's against Wisconsin, Georgia, Vanderbilt, South Carolina. So it's not like they're playing bad teams here. This Alabama run defense looks really strong, which really puts Tennessee in a bad spot offensively. So in terms of placing a bet, you already know I'm on Alabama here. I got it at 2.5. Hopefully, if you're trying to tail that, you could still get a 2.5. But even if it's at 3, I still would pick Alabama. But I'm in. I got the Tide -2.5. If you want to see all the bets I have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on Open Bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone else on the staff here. Also, if you sign up to Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 and one of these trophies go to the winner every single week. So if you're interested, head over to the website and sign up. Live show, 10 a.m. up to kickoff on Saturday morning. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. So have a good one.